In the Defining Dreams document, not surprisingly, a key component of that document, have I lost voice? No, okay. A key component of that document is clearly the research agenda. I don't think I have to tell most of you that any university, its reputation is going to be based on the excellence of its researchers, and it's that research excellence that's going to increase our own capacity to attract really good faculty to come to the university, and as a result, to attract and retain some of the best students as well at the undergraduate and graduate level. In the Defining Dreams document, there are a number of bullets under research in particular. And I have them listed up here, but you've all got the document. It's all on the web, and I'm sure you can read them. Basically, the idea in these bullets is that what we want to do as an institution is to promote and support a culture that supports research. And we also want to be able to increase our funding base in relation to research, because it has implications not just for the quality of the work our people do, but also the opportunities that are available for our students, and in particular graduate students. And then the third major theme that comes out of this has to do with the impact of our research, whether or not it's seen as relevant, whether or not we are contributing to our own scholarly disciplines, and whether or not we're actually attracting the attention and engaging students in the research process. So we have all of these goals as part of our strategic document. And then the question becomes, well, how do we turn those goals into action? How does Carleton move forward to actually meet these goals? So what we have done is we've come up with a strategic research plan that is in fact quite complementary to the goals, I think, of the Defining Dreams plan. That strategic research plan is something that we had begun in parallel with coming up with this document by having meetings and focus groups with researchers from across the campus. I had a working group of researchers work with me to put together and articulate a vision and an action plan. And that action plan or that vision has now been put onto the web so that anybody else can actually see how do we think that we can move forward to actually achieve these goals. And I've already begun to get feedback from particular groups, namely our research center directors and our research chairs. Well, I'm not going to go through all of the details of that plan. Suffice it to say that really what we've done is we've organized activities into two main thrusts or themes. The first one, not surprisingly, is to accelerate Carleton's standing as a research-intensive institution. What we're saying here, very much like the Defining Dreams plan, is that we need to build an institutional culture that supports research. We want to maximize opportunities for students to get involved in the research enterprise, and we want to be able to have an impact, that our reputation is out there, and that we're acquiring the funding to be able to do what we want. No big surprise here. Much of our activity right now is focused on building an institutional culture that supports research. Unless we have that in place, it's going to be very difficult to meet the expectations in terms of the other activities, whether it's raising funding or drawing our students in. Our faculty need to feel supported by the institution, that if they're going to engage in research, that the institution is going to be behind them, that when they want to do something, that those objectives, those needs are valued by the institution, they're recognized, and that your work with students, with the community, with industry, whatever, are all part of what the institution really wants to see in each of you and really values in terms of what you're doing. So for us, the primary aspect of moving forward in the research enterprise is to build the trust that the support for our researchers is going to be there. tied to that, I think, is the notion of maximizing the opportunities for student engagement. And I think that's an obvious one for most researchers. Your excitement about being at a university, your passion is driven by the research you do. When you talk to your students, that's what you're really trying to pull them in and get involved in, which is why so many of you will take on volunteers in your labs. You'll support students, you try to get them really thinking about the kinds of things you do in your lab, in your classrooms. This is really what drives us all as researchers. And so what we want to be able to do is actually much more explicitly recognize that. When we talk about engaging students and retaining them, we need to be able to have mechanisms in place that recognizes how much time you already spend bringing to the student body, getting them excited about the kinds of things you're doing. And that includes factors like volunteer work. So what we're currently doing is we're doing an evaluation of the kinds of activities that are being done on campus to engage students in research. And what we would like to be able to do is put forward some sort of sometimes central, sometimes decentralized mechanisms to be able to support that. Doesn't want to go forward, really wants me to go through the last two, but I think the last two, the funding in that, build from the first two. Okay, the second major thrust that we've been working on and will continue to work on, and I think support the Defining Dreams document, is to define and develop Carleton's distinctive identity as a research institution. This is really about trying to identify what our strengths are at the institution and how we might be able to organize those into niches where we can have people working together, crossing the silos to work as teams, to collaborate, and to provide us with a basis for selling Carleton and letting the world know that we have strengths in these particular areas. And it should come as no surprise to you that we have 4 strengths that we're working with that are explicitly defined in the Defining Dreams. The environment, new digital media, health, and global identities. I don't really need to go through all of them a third time now. The one, however, that we have been working with a lot in the last year has to do with environment and sustainability. And that should give you some idea of what we mean when we say we want to be able to cluster what's going on in research into particular niches or strengths or themes. So over the course of the past year, we've been building up interdisciplinary groups on various topics ranging from urbanization to sustainable energy to environmental contaminants and the role of public policy and regulatory policy in all of these, connecting them to society. And these projects are already resulting in very large-scale funding applications. People are starting to know each other and recognize, hey, there are other people on this campus that actually do research on environment outside my own department. And there are discussions for how we might actually consolidate the numerous academic programs so that we have, again, a focal point around the environment. So we had already started doing some work in this area. And what we're hoping to do over the course of the next year or 2 years is to build up that kind of community around new digital media, health, and global identities. So most of the details for the activities that we actually see taking place to implement these various plans and to push forward on those thrusts, making Carleton a more research-intensive university and identifying and selling our strengths, basically, can be seen at this website. If you go to the website, there's a link to this plan. We would really love to be able to get your feedback. It is called a draft plan for a reason. We'd like to hear back from you. We're at the point where we're moving towards taking our words and putting them into action. And so even if you have ideas about how we might implement these ideas into action, we'd really love to hear from you on that as well. So thank you.